Good morning, students. Welcome once again to our live virtual classes. I'm sure after the previous two sessions on overheads, now you would have got a good hands-on working experience, working expertise, I should say, on this topic. I'll repeat, this is a very scoring topic. In fact, even the previous ones, the material, labor, is also scoring. Only two things are required. One, you understand the concepts, the working formats, where these concepts are applicable for what type of question. This is point number one. And then point number two, you apply them by doing thorough practice. Students, please, I always come across this question, sir, we should do smart work. I agree. But if you are saying, sir, we should do smart work instead of hard work, then I believe somewhere there is some gap. Smart work does not means working less. Smart work is working hard, but in right direction, with proper technique, with proper approach, but it is not working less. In fact, smart work is putting in the same hard work, but getting more and better results. Unfortunately, somehow it has been so advocated by various social media influencers that smart work means working 2 hours instead of 10 hours. It is not the right understanding. Why, I'll tell you. If we talk about subjects like costing, like FM, or for that matter, any technical subject, once you have understood the concept, this is the meaning of primary, this is secondary, this is why we do departmentalization, but that will not be sufficient to get marks, because during exams, only understanding of the concept is not sufficient, because you have to solve the sum by yourself. Many times, under the misconception of smart work, I have seen students doing what? Taking some reference book and just ticking on the answers, taking their calcs and okay, ratio of area is this, rent divided by this ratio, I am getting the figures, tick. You feel that by doing this way, you are solving more number of sums, you are covering more number of sums. But let me tell you, students, this technique will not help you get marks in the exams. Reason one, this will not give your hands the practice of proper tables, proper placing of the figures in respective tables. And second, most important, since you have not practiced the sums yourself, what will happen is when you are actually solving in the exams, it will take more time. There is a possibility or a risk that there is some mistake creeping into your answers. But if you have practiced the same thing at your end, 20 sums, 25 sums, then whatever are the possible mistakes, you have highlighted, identified, and even rectified before the exam paper. So students, please, if you really wish to secure great marks, in some cases rank, and to clear in the very first attempt, this is the only method. This is the smart work approach. Whoever advocates that solve only two sums, remaining 15 sums you can just take, I guarantee that never helps in passing. Whoever the person may be, how much uh, the experience the person may be on social media advocating all this, let me tell you, today everything on social media need not be the correct thing. Many things on social media from all categories, not only education, from all categories, is more to get people connected to them, to subscribe their channels, that they speak of such extravagant things, they speak of flashy things, they speak of those things what the listener wants to hear. But when it comes to your education and especially career, students, please do not fall prey to such type of social media, what you can say, uh, creations. And even let us say, for the timing, if you want to believe, you can test it out in an attempt. But if the attempt is giving negative results, please don't get disheartened, because you will realize, and it is in fact for you to realize, that it is not you who failed, it is the method what has failed. And that is where you come back to the originals. See, that is why always remember one thing. As technology will progress, as you'll have advancement in different type of fields, more researches, things coming out, nothing can substitute hard work. Nothing. So, students, my humble request, please practice, please solve, expertise, so that everything is in your control during exams, right? So let us start. Yes, Mustafa, a good thrilling morning. Rajveer, good morning. Deepika, morning. Gunjan Devi, good morning. Pooja, good morning. Krishna, I'll do that, Krishna. I'm not purposefully uploading because I'm still yet to solve few sums, beta. Don't worry. Once I had committed, I'll do that. I'm not purposefully uploading answers because then all my further sums, you will not solve it by yourself. Yes, Shamli. Good morning, Kairvi. Gunjan. Yes, Gunjan. See, beta, what happens? You solve both the sums by our method of repeated. See, why the performa is different? Because academically, those methods are there. See, at different points of time, there are different researchers, there are different scholars who devise different methods. But ultimately, over a period, what happens? What you called as trial and error few decades back has now been called as repeated. So don't worry, beta, you solve it by that approach. Your answer is same, right? You can try that. If you find any difficulty, please let me know. I'll guide you, right? Chalo. So by now we have reached that point, students, where we have understood one thing, that for the purpose of overheads charging, what you need is, you need to first identify the overheads, which I told you in the first class. Overheads are all your indirect expenses. From where do you get? Go and check profit and loss account. P&L account is all made up of indirect expenses only. Indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses, and even few are there in your manufacturing and trading account, except for purchase of raw material, except for the direct wages there, and except for things like royalty. Majority all other expenses are overheads. So you identify the overheads. Then if you remember, I had explained that there is something called as overheads register. 1 second, I'll show you. So then there is something called as overheads register. So what you do is, once you have identified all these expenses from your financial statements, now you have to bifurcate. You have to divide the expenses between your production, between your administration, between your selling and distribution. Correct? Once you have identified and bifurcated the expenses, now you get the totals of all the three category of overheads. This is the accounting part of overheads. Now, as I told you, these are subsidiary books. When we will study a topic called as cost accounting, in that we will study the actual journal entries and the postings. In fact, today in my second part of the class, I'm going to take you to that part because that is what is going to be relevant today in our today's second part of the session. We are going to look into something about accounting, but just as a revision. So you find that the total of the overheads you get from your subsidiary books over here called as the overheads ledger or overheads register, which is in this format. Now, from here, one thing that you'll do is your accounting, which we are going to deal with in second part of today's class. And the other thing that you do is costing. What is costing? For the purpose of charging any cost. We did the same thing in material, we did the same thing in labor, and now we are studying the same thing. You need to calculate your charging rate. Now, this charging rate in case of overheads has three names: overhead charging rate, overhead recovery rate, overhead absorption rate. So these are the three terms used. Commonly out of this is this term, overhead recovery rate. So what you have to do is you have to follow or apply the mother formula. What is our mother formula, which is used in every chapter of costing? In the numerator, you will take the total cost. In the denominator, you will take the basis. Now, for material, the base was material units. So when you divided the total cost of material by material units, you used to get the per unit material cost. And this was per unit of material quantity. So if my material is in kgs, I used to get the material charging price per kg of rice, per kg of dal, per liter of oil. Similarly, in labor, we divided it by the labor hours. So my labor charging rate was something per labor hour. So numerator, total labor cost to company, which comprises of basic, bonus, perquisites, statutory payments, and divided by the normal productive labor hours. That used to give you the labor charging rate per labor hour. Now, since these two are direct costs, material and labor, you had their own basis: material, quantity, labor, hours. But when we come to overheads, overheads is something which is indirect. Overheads is made up of all these expenses, as you can see, all the expenses like depreciation, like salaries, like advertisement, rent, repairs, etc. All these are overheads. Now, once I've found out total of all this, so when you take this total in this numerator, what is this total? This total is rent, depreciation, light bill, power expenses, salaries, advertisement, repair maintenance, printing stationery, all this is this numerator. Now for this, what could be the dividing factor? That is what we call as the base. For this, we have choices, we have options. One is you can take some quantity base, so you will get your charging rate per unit. Or second is you can take some cost base, so your charging rate will be percentage. So for administration overheads, if you remember, we studied the quantity base would be units produced, or the cost base would be factory cost. For selling distribution, we studied the quantity base would be units sold, or the cost base could be the cost of sales or even the sales value. When we come to production overheads, for production overheads, there are two approaches suggested. One, you calculate a charging rate here itself, like you did for administration overheads. Now, when you calculate a charging rate here itself, you have calculated one rate for entire factory overheads. That is where it is called as blanket rate or single rate. So you select one of the bases for production overheads also, and you calculate the charging rate for production overheads. However, more recommended than this is the second approach, which is the departmental rate. What is departmental rate? You further divide production overheads into the various processes, various activities the production department does, the various production functions that the production department does. That is what is called as departmentalization of overheads. So how we start? We take this overheads details below. So whatever you got from your overheads register relating to production overheads, you take it here again. So the same expenses, now we make a detailed list again, but these amounts now pertain only to the production department, because now we are dealing with further bifurcation of production overheads. And then that is bifurcated between the various departments within the factory. Some departments are engaged in actual production, some are in the supporting function. So Let us say there are 3 production departments and 2 supporting or service departments. So now we do departmentalization. What is departmentalization of production overheads? It is simply dividing these overheads of factory or production into all the departments of the factory. This is departmentalization. In the first step, we do primary distribution. That is why our first working is also called as primary distribution of overheads. So in primary distribution, we divide the expenses to all the departments in my factory, which may be production, which may be service. And after doing this, in the second step, which is called as secondary distribution, whatever cost we got for the service departments X and Y, that is recharged, reapportioned to the production departments. That is where we call this working as our secondary distribution, right? And then finally, after secondary distribution, once you get the final totals of secondary distribution, we now divide it by respective basis to find out our ORR, which we even did in one of the sums, rather 2 sums. So here you divided it by some respective base. What was the base? The base was labor hours. So you divided by labor hours, you got the charging rate, correct? Now within primary, there are 2 different methods. Both are applied. One is called as allocation, one is called as apportionment. What is allocation? Allocation is where the expenses are already bifurcated into departments. You have to simply pick up and put these expenses in the respective columns. So when you put the expenses in the respective column, you have not used any ratio because they are already specifically allotted to each department. You have to simply pick up and put it in the respective department table. That is what is allocation. Where you have common expenses for which you have used some appropriate ratio, which is called as basis of apportionment. See, all these terminologies are 1 mark theory questions, so you should also know the terminologies. So the ratio that you use for dividing the common expenses between all your departments is what is called as basis of apportionment. And this process of dividing common expenses is called as apportionment. Correct? Then for doing secondary distribution, we have again 3 different scenarios because 3 different situations may exist. In direct, service departments are not giving to one another. In step ladder, one of them gives to other, but the other one is not giving to the first one. And in repeated, both are giving to one another. For repeated, or this is also called as reciprocal, and these 2 are called as non-reciprocal. For this, you have repeated, you have trial error, you have simultaneous. Whatever method you adopt, you will get same answer because all are under the same category. But the answer of direct and step ladder and this will not match because they are under different scenarios, different categories. Correct? So we have reached up until that point where we are now doing primary, secondary, and we are also finding out our charging rates. Now these charging rates, since they are calculated for the different production departments, this approach is called as the departmental rate approach as against the single rate approach. And these rates will now be used when you are preparing cost sheet to charge your factory overheads to the product or the job, whatever you are doing costing of. Is this clear to all students? Any questions, any doubts? Put me your questions or doubts, students, before I can proceed with my further next topic in this. No questions, no doubts? Excellent. So now let me move ahead with the further part. Now, what is the further part? It is having some theory and practical. In fact, all these practicals are backed up by the respective theory concepts like what is primary distribution, what is departmentalization of overheads, what is basis of apportionment. All this, what we have done practical, has also become 1 or 2 marks theory questions. So I'm also parallelly explaining you the theory. Now, coming to this part again. So we did primary, we did secondary, and at the end, what we did was we selected a base which we divided by the total overheads, so that after dividing the total overheads by the base, we got the overhead charging rate, overhead recovery rate. Now this step is called as the absorption of overheads. So first step was primary, secondary, and now you have the absorption. Now in absorption, there is one very interesting, important practical aspect plus the theory related to that. So now I'm on the third part, that is absorption of production overheads. Now to absorb means to charge, means to recover. That is why we call it as absorption rate, charging rate, or in case of overheads, more commonly it is called as overhead recovery rate. Now, to find out these rates, what you require is the base. Base means you have to divide the total cost which is in the numerator by something in the denominator. This something in the denominator, since it is denominator lower, that is why it is also called as base. Now the question is, what can be the options for base? So broadly, this we have studied, I even revised at the start, that there are two types of bases. One is a physical base, or you can also say it is a quantitative base, or you have the cost base. So quantitative base can be, you can take units produced, as we understood at the start of this chapter also, and I revise also today, that you can divide production overheads by the units produced as one of the bases that will give you the charging rate per unit, because the base selected is units. Second quantitative base could be hours. As we saw in the last solved sums, they had taken, or they had, the question had asked you to take labor hours. So one basis you can take labor hours. Another basis you can take machine hours. Now the question is when to take labor hours and when to take machine hours. The answer is simple. If your production is labor intensive, labor driven, the base should be labor hours. If your production is machine driven, the base could be machine hours. Now in the same question, can we have both the hours as the base? Answer is yes. Let us say in this previous question, which we solved in the last class, where we did entire sum, primary, secondary, and also ORR. If it is given that this department is labor intensive, but the second department is machine intensive, possible. It is not necessary that within the same factory, all departments work in the same format. So some department may be using machines majorly, that is the production is mechanized production. Then the base you should take over here is the machine hours, because see, it is very logical. There is nothing to learn. The logic is, if my production is carried out by machine, then when I'm doing the time booking, if you remember the labor chapter, time booking is you record how much time is spent on that particular work. Obviously, the time that is spent on a particular work is of the machine. Let us say, I'll give you a simple example. I think we discussed this point about technology, how technology is fast changing. That nowadays, if you go to hospitals, even surgeries are now being done by robots. Now, robots are machines. So maybe in a particular same hospital, particular type of surgeries, which is of a repetitive routine type. Now, the hospital is using robotics for doing the surgery. And for all other surgeries, which are very critical, which are very specific, they are using, the doctors are doing it by themselves. Now, those surgeries which are done by the doctors, let us say those are the departments in the hospital which are labor driven. So there the hours that you will take as the base is of the doctors that they have spent in doing the surgeries by themselves. And in those cases where the surgeries are done using sophisticated machines or robots, obviously the time that you are taking for dividing the cost of that particular department is the machine hours, because over there the work is entirely machine driven. Obviously, behind the machine there is a doctor sitting who is regulating the computer, but that is not the major part. Major part is the main thing that is done in production, or in my example, the surgery, is by the robotics. So you take the machine hours as the base, and where it is majorly labor driven, you take the labor hours as the base. So the question is, can both the hours be taken in the same sum? Answer is yes. That depends upon which department is working how. Now, these are all quantitative bases, as you can understand, either units or hours. Out of this, which is most favorable? So generally they say you should not adopt unit basis, you should prefer hour basis, both labor machine, depending upon how production is done. Then within cost base, you have the option of material cost as the base, direct material cost. You have the direct labor cost as the base, or you have the prime cost as the base. So see, you already have these costs in your cost sheet. Before overheads, you get all these costs. Now, out of this, which of the cost can be taken as the base? So since we are talking about production overheads, they always say that if you want to take cost as the base, your preference should be direct labor cost. Again, why? Because wherever your work is labor driven, you should take something relating to labor. So this has a component of labor. Plus, since this labor cost, how labor cost is derived, it will be labor hours multiplied by the labor wage rate or charging rate. Now, understand this point, students, that labor cost is made up of hours and the labor rate. By taking hours, you have considered the labor component. By taking rate, you have also considered the labor skill component. So wherever the skill of the worker has to be considered in overheads charging, we prefer labor cost as the base. Where the skill of the labor is not required to be considered, we consider only the labor hours as the base. Is this fine, students? Yes, students, any questions, any doubts? Yes, everyone present. Minu, Manisha, Priya, Riddhi, Rinki, Rohini, Yashashwini, Abhijit, Aditya, Harsh, Krishna, Kuldeep, Linga R, Mustafa, Neeraj, Prajot, Rajveer, Ravindra, Shubham, Vidyasagar, Deepika, Insia, Lakshmi Priya, Prajapati, Khushnoor, Chaitra, Gunjan, Aishwarya, Jaya, Jitu, Khushbu, Medha, Nissi, Nitya, Pooja, Purnima, Samira, and Atyachapa. Atyacha. Achaya, sorry. Yes, students, any of you, any questions, any doubts? So, this is the theoretical part of the absorption step. Now, in this absorption step, we are going to now take up a practical part, which is one of the favorites of examiners, which is called as the machine hour rate sums. Now, what is machine hour rate sums? What we have done till now, the same thing we are going to do again. Like we did primary distribution, after that we did secondary, and we divided by the base to find out the ORR. We are going to do the same thing with only difference that now the base is machine hours, because your work is mechanized, it is machine driven. And another thing, till now we were having multiple department. Let us say I take example of this. There are two production, three service. So what we did, primary, then secondary, and then ORR. Now they will give you details relating to only one of the departments, which is a machine department. So now you are not given all the department details. You are given out of all one of the production department details, which is a machine department. Again, what we'll do is We will prepare a table or will now prepare that department's cost by taking all the expenses of that department, making a total. So you'll get the total cost of that machine department and dividing this total by the machine hours of that department to find out the ORR, which is per machine hour. Hence, it is called as machine hour rate. So where you are charging the overheads using the base as machine hours. So by default, the charging rate is per machine hour, which is called as a machine hour rate. So now the sums that we are dealing with is again of overheads charging, but with now one department. Now for such sums, what is the format? You will first prepare a cost statement. Why cost statement? Because now we need to find out a total, like how we did here. So I have to reach up to this total, which is after primary and secondary, so that I can divide the total by the machine hours. So for finding this total, I need to first add up all the expenses of that one department, which is the machine department. And by adding up all the expenses, I will reach to the total. So that is why we are doing or we are preparing the first statement, which is our cost statement. Now, this cost statement is not of entire factory. We don't have to do all departments. We are only dealing with one department, which is the machine department. Now, interestingly, we go to more details of this department. So let us say this is department B, which is a machine cost center. Now, just instead of saying department, we are saying it as a cost center, right? So these are technical terms. So department B is your machine department or the machine cost center. Now, this department B has 15 machines. Now, when we are preparing cost statement, either you can prepare cost statement for all the 15 machines together, or you can prepare the cost of only one machine. Now, this depends upon the question and the data. Generally, the data is such that they tell you that this department has 15 machines, but all the costs that are given are for one machine. So we prepare this cost statement not for the entire department B, because entire department B means all 15 machines. Rather, we prepare it for one machine which is given. So just keep this in mind. See, the calculation again is simple, but these details will make some small changes in your workings, which you have to focus on. So first thing is you have to see for how many machines you are preparing the cost statement. So generally in the total department, multiple machines would be there, but you are asked to prepare the data or the charging rate you have to calculate for one of the machines. Then comes the period. Now this cost statement, let us say, is for one machine for 1 year or 1 month or 1 quarter. Again, that depends upon the data given in the sum. Majority times it is for the year. So my cost statement is for department B of one machine of 1 year. Please pay attention to the students, because these are the small things which are now going to affect your workings and the final answer. See, answer format is simple. Calculations are simple. You are given expenses. You have to just add up the expense to find out total cost, which you will divide it by the machine hours to find out the ORR, that is the charging rate per machine hour. But while doing so, the data which is given is very important. You have to read and interpret the data, and you have to take the proper data. Now, while preparing this cost statement, is there any particular format required? Answer is yes. At times, not always, at times, they will ask you to bifurcate this into categories of fixed variable. But this is very rare. They generally do not say any such thing. When they do not say any such thing, you have to simply go on adding all the expenses given in the question to find out the total cost of department B of one machine for the year. Now, this you will divide by your normal productive machine hours. And once you divide this cost by the machine hours, what you will get your ORR, that is overhead recovery rate, overhead charging rate, which will be per machine hour. That is why this rate is also called as machine hour rate. Now, how to find out this normal productive machine hours? This again has a small calculation. Now, in some of the sums, this is given. So this working may not be required, but in other sums, you will require this. Now, students, again, what is this productive machine hours? We did the same concept in labor also, because in labor, when we were dividing the total labor cost by the labor hours were productive labor hours. What is productive? See, productive is how much of the total labor hours present will be actually working. So if you remember labor, how we were calculating the denominator, we were taking the total hours for which the worker is present minus the normal idle time. That is the time for which even though the worker is present, but he is not actually working. Yes, very good, Rajveer. And that is very obvious, that is very logical, and that is very normal, because a labor, even though present for 8 hours or 10 hours, cannot be working continuously. There would be some breaks, lunch break, refreshment break. Secondly, whenever he is changing from one job to another, there would be some time gap or break. All that time which is lost, it is unproductive. So how you get productive? Total hours minus unproductive is productive. Same thing will happen for machines. So for machines, you'll have the total hours available minus the machine idle time. Now, what is the machine idle time? It is firstly the setup time. Again, what is this setup time? Setup time is the time which is required. As you remember in labor also I had mentioned, when a labor comes to the factory, he will have to first make the machine ready for this work. He will have to prepare the machine for this work. How to prepare the machine or make the machine ready? So first is you do cleaning of the machine. Then you fit the respective molds and dies. So whatever type of work you need to do, you have to fit that respective molds and dies. And many times if the machine is huge, large, even if you put on the machine, it will not immediately start doing the production. It will take some time to set up, to get ready, which is also called as setup. Or in labor, if you remember, we had used the word warming up time. So all this time, which is required for preparing the machine, for making the machine ready to do the work, is the setup time. Correct? Simple. Again, go to your kitchen. In kitchen, you are using different equipments. So let us say today I have to prepare idlis. Now this is very common. Nowadays we prepare idlis at home only. So we have a particular type of oven for preparing the idli. Now if let us say today idlis have to be prepared, the oven, which is your machine or the equipment, what you do is you will remove it from the shelf where it is kept. You will clean it. Then you have the different layers in which you put the idli ghol. But before you do that, you will apply some oil to that. You will make it ready. And even if you keep it on the gas, immediately it is not ready to give you idlis. It will take some time to heat up. And then you start pouring the idli ghol, putting it for some time. That is what is the setup time. For whatever time you require to make the equipment ready for doing the production, that is the setup time, which is unproductive. So we subtract it. And then you also have the maintenance. Now we all know like how humans require food, require some refreshment. Similarly, machines also cannot work 24 hours a day, 365 days. In between, after periodical gaps, you have to keep the machine under maintenance. Now, this gap may be every week, this gap may be every quarter. That depends upon the nature of the work. So all the machines that you are using, since you are using it daily, regularly, there is wear and tear. So regularly you need to put it in maintenance. The best example is your vehicles. If you are using your vehicles without putting it in maintenance, there will be a day when there will be a major breakdown of the vehicle, which may stop everything. So instead, in order to keep the vehicle in good condition, in working condition, giving the most maximum output, you should regularly put it in maintenance. Now, the moment you send your vehicle for maintenance, that may take 1 or 2 days, and that time again is productive because that is lost because that machine is not usable at that time. So this is when you subtract from the total hours which is available, you subtract these 2 times when the machine is not doing any production. What is left is your normal productive machine hours, which when you divide it here from the total cost of that machine, you get the machine hour rate. Again, what is very important is this. Since the cost statement is prepared for one machine's cost of 1 year, same thing you should apply here. The machine hours that you take should be of one machine and the details should be pertaining to a year. This is very important. In fact, it is the other way around. We first check how the data is given in the sum for machine hours and similarly we prepare the cost statement. So you have to check from the question that the machine hours is given for one machine or multiple machines, and it is for 1 year, 1 quarter, 1 month. Accordingly, the cost statement has to be prepared. I hope this is clear to everyone because once this is clear, now we'll be solving the sums which are called as machine hour rate sums, where you have varieties of sums, right? Anybody wants, you can take a screenshot of this. Chalo, put me your questions, if any, before I start solving. Any conceptual point here, anything you haven't understood, put it across. Neeraj, this process is after secondary distribution. Kuldeep, yes, we deduct setup and maintenance hours to find out productive. But here, as I said, now we have variety of sums. Once we go to those varieties, you'll get to know. In some cases, we do slightly different, but that is when it is specifically given in the question. Otherwise, we deduct setup hours, we deduct maintenance hours, and the balance is called as productive hours. Krishna, why we are considering one machine? I'm not saying we have to always consider one machine. I am giving it as an example that when you are preparing, this will be how you will prepare. Now it will depend upon uh, how many, sorry, it depends upon what data is given. If the data is given for 15 machines, you'll do for 15 machines. So there is no rule that it will always be of one machine, right? Yes, Gunjan, you can call it as working note, the calculation of productive hours, or you can call it as part of the answer. No need to call it as working note, especially. It is part of the answer. Correct? Productive machine hours per annum. Yes, so see, whenever, see, Minu, it depends upon again what is the data. If the data says that we have to do the calculation for a quarter, then we will do both the workings for a quarter. So we'll write one machine per quarter. If it is for 10 machines, we'll write 10 machines per quarter. So beta, depending upon the question, I have just given an example because generally majority of the sums that you will find will be per machine per annum. Correct? Yes, superb. Is this clear to all? Excellent. Let us now start then. So machine hour rate sums. Let me start with a slightly lengthy question, which will cover both the aspects. So now see the data. This data will help you understand what I'm trying to say. So a machine was purchased on 1st January 21 for 5 lakhs. The total cost of all machines, including the new machines, is 75 lakhs. So this shows that this department has more than one machines. Now, the following particulars are available. If you see, the question has started with giving data of a machine. A means one machine. Now you will find that further majority of the data is of one machine. And if you remember, I had already said that how you will decide whether you have to do for one machine or 10 machines. Answer is see the machine hours data. If the machine hour data is for one machine, you will do the cost sheet also for one machine. If the machine hour data is for a year, you do for a year. If it is for a month, you do for a month, right? Now, what is the data? Expected life of the machine. See these small points, students. It may appear to you as very basic or name points, but these are the main crucial factors. Then scrap value at the end of the life, repairs and maintenance of the machine. Now, this is the main point, the deciding factor, that whether our calculations will be per machine per annum, per machine per month, or how. What it says, the number of working hours of the machine per year. So the data pertaining to machine hours is per machine per annum. So we will do our calculations accordingly. I hope this is fine, students. Now you would have understood this will help you calculate depreciation. This is repairs maintenance. Then you have insurance, power. Then you are given all these areas, vagara. Why? Because if you remember, when there were multiple departments, we did primary distribution using area for rent. Now we have to do the same thing here because if the rent expense is given for the whole department, I don't have to do cost sheet for the whole department. I have to do cost sheet of one machine. That is where this will be required to apportion. So as you can see, the rent is given for the department, not for the machine. So this is where you have to be reading the question minutely. So why deciding this first? Because some data may be for one machine, some may be for all machines, some data may be for a month, some may be for a year. So you have to bring it at the same level. So what will be that same level? In this sum, it is per machine per annum. I hope now this is clear to all. And then the common question, calculate the overhead charging rate, which is basis machine. So it is called as the machine hour rate, right? Again, it is again saying it should be for the machine. It means they want it for one machine, correct? Clear enough, everyone? Now, I hope your questions, because many of you had asked about machine per annum, machine per quarter. I hope now this is clear. So when you read the question, you understand what I'm trying to tell you in the format. Okay, chicken. So with this, let us start solving. So it is question number 16. Cost statement, which is per one machine per annum. So Meenu beta, this is what is the skill, na? I already told you that in the question they will give data for different things. Some data will be for one machine, some will be for all machines. So this is what you have to find out. This is the only calculation is required in the question. Otherwise, the question is very straightforward. You have to simply add up all the cost. But before adding up, you have to bring the cost at same level. So where some costs are given for all machines, you have to convert it into per machine. That is where our mathematical skills are required. Meenu, in fact, that is the only thing which we are required to solve in this question. I hope you understood. So now start applying your brains as to how you will find out per machine, per annum, whatever. Correct? And that is where it becomes, it is like primary distribution. You are given for all, you have to apportion and find out for one. So I have depreciation of machine. I have repairs of machine. What else was there? Depreciation, repairs, insurance, power, rent, lighting. Correct? Now, now see, what is the data given? The cost of this machine is 5 lakhs, right? Expected life is 10 years. Scrap value is 50,000. Now we know how to calculate depreciation. So the depreciation would be 5 lakhs minus 50,000 upon 10 years. So it is 45,000. And I'm sure it is one machine per annum. No doubts with that. Correct? Very good. So you have to now start calculating. Mustafa, start thinking. Apply the logics of primary distribution. You will get your answers easily. Now the second is repair maintenance for the machine for the year 28,000. So it is ready-made given. In this, some expected number of working hours are already given. So you need not do the calculation of machine hours. From next sum will require that calculation also. Here, the number of working hours are already given. So that calculation is not required. So repairs maintenance for the machine during the year is 28,000. So that is ready-made. No workings required, right? Then insurance premium. Now already it is saying annually, but it is saying for all machines. Now students apply the logic of primary distribution. If in primary distribution some insurance is given and you have to apportion it, you require basis for all these things. What would be the basis? For depreciation, for insurance, the basis is value of the asset. Why? Because insurance, depreciation are linked with value. Higher the value, higher would be these two expenses. So, in order to find out the insurance of one machine out of total, we will use the value of machine. Yes, Shamli. Yes, Meenu. So, what is the value of this machine is 5 lakhs and of all the machines. Now, this is again language is important of all the machines, including this machine. So 75 includes 5. So whatever is my insurance premium, annual insurance premium 12 lakhs, I divided by 75 multiplied by 5 lakhs. So 12 lakhs multiplied by 5 lakhs, which is of this machine, divided by 75 lakhs, which is of all machines, including this machine. Correct? Yes, Rajveer, Neeraj, Krishna, you all are correct. So the amount is 80,000. Now comes power. Now, generally in the question, the power will be given like this. How? That the machine requires every hour 25 units. Now, this happens even in your household electricity bill. Your electricity bill depends upon how many units the meter is rotating. So, the machine requires 25 units in 1 hour, right? And the per unit cost is 5. Now, we solve this by taking the productive hours. Now, in this question, we need not calculate productive hours. It is already given. How many productive hours are there? 4,000 hours during the year. And every hour, the machine consumes 25 units of electricity. And they have given the per unit cost is 5. So this is how you get the power cost. Okay, good. Yes, good. So many of you are giving me the answers now. So the power cost is coming as rupees 5 lakhs. Now proceeding further, after power, we have the area and the rent. So now this data, now please read the question carefully, students. Question reading is the key at this level. If you do not read question properly, your answers may go wrong. What is the point? Pay attention. It says area occupied by the machine. So for this machine, it is 100. Area occupied by other machines, 1,500. And rent is per month of the department, 80,000. Correct? If I've scribbled too much, let me wipe out. Can I extrapolate both the pages? How to do that so that both the pages remain? Can I have that type of some setting where I can have both the pages parallelly? Absorption. Okay, multiple answers. But then Mustafa, I'm dragging it. But the problem is once I start the working part, it goes away. Okay, in the meantime, you all give me the rent. Now see, here you'll get the mistakes. This is where practice is required. So give me the rent, students. This is where practical question solving is must. This is where smart work requires a lot of practice. 80,000, I suppose, was per month, but all our calculations are per annum. So firstly, it is into 12 months, correct? So 80,000 into 12 months because this was per month, so that we get it per annum. Now multiplied by 100. Now see how mistakes happen. And this is where practice is very important. Solving different varieties of sums and solving. Even if you tick this, you will not get the answers in exams because ticking does not helps. Now see, this is the answer. 80,000 into 12 multiplied by 100 divided by 1600. Harsh is saying click window key plus left arrow. Areva, let me try this. But this is keeping the screen. Okay. The screen window and you are saying left arrow. Oh, wow. Good, Harsh. Thank you. Students, tell me. Thank you, Harsh. This is what I was looking for. Mustafa asking why 1600. Read the question again, Mustafa. This is what I was saying. The question reading is the key. Solving is very simple. In my first class, I had said that you require maths. Many people had raised some concerns, sir, maths. But I told maths, nothing beyond plus, minus, divide, multiply. And even after so many sums, till now, maybe would have solved around 100 sums of all chapters combined. But I never went beyond plus, minus, divide, multiply. Even in this sum, we are doing the same. But what is the point? The point is taking the right values. Good. Medha is saying, sir, it is 1500. So Medha, it is you who has to decide whether 1500 or 1600. Ishwarya, you are saying instead of doing like this, we can take ratio of square SQ ST. But it is one and the same, no? What different thing you are telling me? Students, the question is divide by 1500 or 1600. This is where we make mistakes in exams. This is why I'm waiting for you all to absorb this. So divide by 1600 or 1500. I have done 1600. People are suggesting 1500. This is what is important. It is 1600. Why? Read the language. 1500 is for other machines. And this machine is 100. So the total area of the department is 1600. Students, language is the key. Good. So now you are getting the point. So those who had the doubt of 1500 versus 1600, I hope it is now resolved. Correct? So it is coming as 60,000. Yes, beta. It is only maths. So maths, however you solve, it is the same. Yes, Mustafa. Chalo, good. Now lighting. Now what is the language for lighting? It is 20 points for the department, out of which 3 points for the machine and 12,000 is per month. So 12,000 into 12 months into. Now here 3 upon 20 or 3 upon 23. Neeraj, it is still 96%. I'll do that. Thank you. 3 by 20, 3 by 23. Now some are saying 3 by 23. Very, very interesting. Same question. Many are saying 3 by 20. This is the language effect. Language is the key. Maths is not the key. Maths is not beyond divide, multiply, plus, minus. But what figures to take is the key. Yes, very good. So here it is divided by 20. Very good. So now you are getting the point. Very good. Very good. Super. Correct. So I think it is 21,600, right? So now I'll get total cost divided by the normal productive machine hours, which is already given as 4,000 hours. So I'll get the machine hour rate. That is the ORR. Some people are saying the total is 674, 600. Okay. 674, 600. And they are saying 168.65. Good, good, very good. Some are saying it is 734, 600. Wow. So I have multiple totals. There can be only one, na? Okay, it is 734, 600. So what is the machine hour rate? Good. So what is the rate? Students, now this is simple maths. If we make mistake here, how it will be in exams. So hard work is the key. Practice is the key. Chalo. Hmm. Chalo students, solve 18 sum now. You solve. Because the moment you solve, you'll get the key points. If there is something going wrong, if something is not clear, you'll get to know. Chalo, solve 18 sum. I give you 5 minutes. Good. Now let's see. Now see students, as we are progressing, you'll realize reading of the question, very important. Understanding the data, very important. Solving is simple. So solving is not the critical part. Understanding firstly the concept of that sum, of that chapter, and then applying it by reading the question. That is the key. Now see what is given. A machine cost 2 lakhs, scrap value 5%, effective life 19 years. The machine is expected to run for 24 hours per annum, but estimated that 150 hours will be lost for repairs, maintenance, and 750 hours for shutdown. So this is the normal loss of the machine. So here you have to subtract it. Now again, the data given is for a machine, that is one machine, and for the whole year. So the hourly data is for one machine for the year. So accordingly, we'll prepare the cost statement also for one machine for the year. Now the details are wages, rent rates, general lighting, insurance premium, repairs, supervisor, power, factory overheads. There are 4 identical machines in the shop, 1/5 of the time. So total, how many machines are there in this shop? So 18 some. One machine. The pre of machine. Then I have wages. Then I have rent, general. So depreciation 2 lakhs minus 5% upon 19 years. Now see, wages is interesting. What it says, wages, bonus, PF for each of two operators. So this gives you an idea that there are two operators and the data given is for each operator. Further, what it says, each operator is in charge of two machines. See, these languages are very important. So 60,000, it is the per annum expense into two operators because it is per operator upon 4 machines because each operator is operating two machines. So total two operators are operating four machines. And since we need it for one machine, we have to divide it by four. Then the rent rates is for the shop, 30,000 is per annum. Now, we have some data. Is there area given? No. So they have said there are four identical machines. So I divided by four machines. General lighting 2,500 into 12 months upon four machines. Insurance. Now this is quarterly and it is for the machine. So nothing doing. It is simply 2,000 into 4 quarters. That's it. Repair maintenance. Again, it is for a machine. So nothing doing. 2,500. Shop supervisor salary 25,000 per month. Now pay attention to the students. Now what it says, shop supervisor is expected to devote 1/5 time to this shop. So this firstly divided by, or this will be multiplied by 1/5. Depreciation 10,000, wages 15,000. So people are giving me answers. I'm writing down their answers. Students, so this is into 1/5, but this will make it for the I hope this is clear. Please pay attention to the working students. Mustafa, how 3 beta? It will be 4, na? Students, I hope you're understanding whatever is done. I again repeat, working is simple. Language is the key. Now in this question, we have this calculation also. Productive. Machine hours, normal. So machine hours available minus repair and maintenance minus shutdown. How much is machine hours available is 2,400. Again, this is one machine per annum. So it is 2,400. 150 is repairs maintenance, 750 is shutdown. So my no, 100. Now why I calculated in between? Because for power, I need these machine hours which are productive. Why? Power is not required when the machine is not doing production. Hence, I stopped in between to calculate the productive hours. Now for power, what is given? Per hour, 2 units are required and the cost of power is 450 for 100. It means per unit it is 4.5, correct? So into 2 units into 4.5. Students, I hope you are now getting the language adjustments. Again, factory overheads is for the shop. So it is 42,000. Now, since it is for the shop, I divided by 4 machines. Correct? So this is how you will get the costings. I will get my total cost. I will divide it by normal productive respective machine hours, and I will get my machine hour rate. This is 1500 hours. Chalo, give me the figures, the total and the per machine hour rate. Sorry. So what is the total, students? I'm getting different answers. 132, 177. So which one is correct? 132 or 177? Which one is correct? Okay, new answer, 1,05,000. Beautiful. 132 or 177? How can there be different answers? I have now given you all the workings. Wow. Another fourth answer, 124,500. Wow. Ah. Students, you have all the workings in front of your screen. Kindly do the workings as per what I have given and not what you had solved. And as per my workings, give me the answers, which should be now only one, not two. One 24,500. Bapre, so many figures. Someone is saying 132. So now the majority answer which I'm getting, I'm putting down is 132 upon 1500 machine hour. Please confirm. Aishwarya, you are still saying 124,500, but a majority are now saying 132. I'm not getting now where the difference is. Others are all saying 132. You are saying 124,500. I don't know how. Please check the working, students. Wow. So it means you all want me to now write down each of the values. Can somebody give me a photo of the totals, respective values? Because still people are getting different answers. Rajveer, is it 132 or 132,500? Please check. Wow, Rinki is having new figure, 122,550. Beautiful. So I need to then go to my answer sheet only then. But I think you can send picture also, if I'm not wrong. $88 is the right answer, students. If this is the correct sum I'm referring to. But here depreciation, acha. So this in this sum the person had solved with 4 machines. Okay, but the answer is 88. It is 132 is the right total, students. Correct? Yes, perfect. Let us proceed, students. Adil Beda, now it is 132, that is for sure. So all other answers are incorrect. Yes, Chaitra, right. Okay, let us then go back. No, we don't want Russia-Ukraine conflict. We want this. Okay. Now, students, we have something called as, this is one special adjustment in this. We have something called as, Adil beta, please read, is it insurance for 4 machines? You have the question in front of you. Please read beta. This is what is the differentiating factor. You have to read the question minutely, very, very, very minutely. What is given for insurance, Adil? Is it given for 4 machines or it is given for the machine? See, I have already circled the keywords. Where is it given 4 machines, Adil? It is given insurance for the machine, right? Now, 22nd sum. Students, you will find it very similar to the previous sum we solved, but there is one small difference. What are they saying? Calculate the machine hour if setup time is unproductive. That is what we have already been doing. But now there is a new adjustment which says setup time is productive. Now, what is this jhanjat of productive? So it simply means that you are now not going to deduct setup time from here. So if they are saying setup is productive, it means they are considering it as productive. So you don't have to deduct it. That is one special adjustment, right? So keep this in mind. In one of these sums, you may get this type of an adjustment where they will say setup is productive. So where it is unproductive, you solve it by the same method which we are doing. But where they say setup is productive, you have to solve it by not deducting the setup time when you are calculating the productive machine hours. First adjustment. Now what I am more interested is in some other special adjustment. Let me show you that. We call it as the dual machine hour rate sum. Yes, this one. 40th sum. Student, please read. This is what is called as a dual machine hour rate sum. So I would like to take this sum so that we complete all types of sums from this category. Just read, I'll come in 2 minutes. Read question. Now, students, what is so special in this sum? This is what is meant by productive. Setup is productive. What was there adjustment in the previous sum also. Now, what is the meaning of setup is productive? Setup is productive means I want to charge setup separately. So like as you can see, they are saying fix dual machine hour and find out the cost of the jobs where they have given setup time and the production time for each job. So as you can see, setup is 80, production is 130, setup is 40, production is 160. Now in this particular question, what is required to be done is same what we have done till now. But in dual machine hour rate, you need to find out rate separately for setup. How? Let us read. So what does the question says? AT Limited engineering company has 25 different types of machines. It furnishes you the data in respect of one machine, that is machine B. Cost of the machine, 50,000, life 10 years, scrap value nil. Okay. Overhead expenses are factory rent, heating, lighting, supervision, reserve equipment, area of the factory, area occupied by the machine. So now all these data is for the entire department which has 25 machines. Now wages of the operator. So you'll find that more or less everything is same like previous sum. But now what is the difference? We have to find out two machine hour rates. One for production, that is productive hours, what we were doing, and one for setup hours. Now, what is the difference? You will find the difference in two things when it comes to having separate uh, charging rates for setup and for production. If you remember, I had mentioned that power costs should always be calculated for productive hours because power is required for productive hours only. So power is one distinguishing factor. Another, if you see over here, is wages. Wages for operator is also given as he attends one machine when it is under setup, but he attends two machines when it is under operation. Now, barring these two costs, one is the operator's wages and the other is the power. All other costs are common. So for dual machine hour rate sums, what you should do is you should make workings in two parts. First is you will do working for common expenses. So we are solving 40th sum, cost statement, again one machine, again per annum. Now here my cost statement will be done in two parts. First, I'll do for common expenses. Now here I have depre, I have factory rent, heating and lighting, supervision, reserve equipment. That's it. Now, depreciation is 50,000 upon 10 years. So it is 5,000. Factory rent 50,000 into area occupied by machine B is 3,000. Area of the factory is 80,000. So it is into 3 upon 80. Correct? Then you have heating, lighting 40, supervision 150, and you have reserve equipment of B 5,000. Now, fortunately, all these expenses are per annum, so I need not multiply it by 12 or by 4 to make it per annum. All are already per annum. The only thing which I need to do is there are total 25 machines. So whatever expenses are for the department, I will have to find out the expenses for one machine. So these are my workings. Correct, students? I hope everybody is clear with all the workings. Nobody has any questions or doubts till this point. रिद्धि प्लीज टेल मी।
हेलो सर।
बोलो बेटा।
सर जो इससे पहले आपने क्वेश्चन कराया था
हाँ बेटा।
उसमें सर सैलरीज 25,000 इंटू 12 डिवाइड बाई 5 होगा ना?
कौन सा सम बेटा इसके पहले?
सर इससे पहले नंबर 18।
उसमें क्या लिखा आप पढ़ सकते हो प्लीज?
जस्ट अ सेकेंड सर। शॉप शॉप सुपरवाइजर सैलरी 20।
आवाज आवाज आवाज। योर वॉइस इज गॉन बेटा। वॉइस इज गॉन बेटा। रिद्धि वॉइस इज गॉन बेटा।
Good morning, sir.
गुड मॉर्निंग जया, प्लीज टेल मी।
Sir, in this question, heating and lighting is 40,000. So we will not take the ratio of area,
Reason बेटा,
factory.
see, heating lighting has nothing to do with area. Heating lighting is for every machine you require the heating process for, so every machine will be requiring coal, maybe every machine will be requiring some fuel for doing the heating. Now, as you remember in our 11th standard accounts, if they used to call it as wages and salary, we used to put it in trading. If they used to call it as salary and wages, we used to put it in P&L. I hope you all remember this adjustment.
Yes,
Yes, Jay.
sir.
So
Yes,
means
sir.
what? Whatever is given first, we take that as the major. Had this been lighting and heating, then what you are saying is right. I would have taken area as the basis. Correct, beta?
O- okay, sir.
Yes, beta. Okay, Riddhi, I'll unmute you again. Tell me, Riddhi.
Sir, the shop supervisor salary is 25,000 per month,
Okay,
and
so into
supervisor
12. Huh.
25,000 per month, and supervisor is giving uh 1/5 time to the machine.
Not machine. Read the question again. If you are talking about 18 sum, read the question again, beta. Please read. Students, in the meantime, give me the answers for this. Give me the total common expenses. Riddhi, read it again, beta, please.
Okay, I got it, sir. 1/5 time to the shop.
Sorry. I could not hear you. Your voice dropped.
I got it, sir. 1/5 time is for shop, so we have to divide it by 4 as well, है ना?
Exactly. That is what I'm saying, beta.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Understood? Wages. Okay, good. So now I have answers. Harsh says 19475 is the common. Adil says it is 36350. Wow. Mustafa 19475. 19475. 19475. 19475. So Adil beta, sorry, I'll go by 19475. Please recheck how you got the figure which you are proposing. Chalo. Now, once we have got common expenses, students, now this common expenses have to be divided between both, between your production hours and your setup hours in the ratio of 3600 is to 400. So divide this 19425 in this ratio. Students, why this ratio? I hope you all understood. So Shamli is saying 17,527. And 1947.5. Okay. So I take up this breakup from Shamli's figures, 17,527. And the other figure is 1947. So 1948. Fine, students, I hope others are having same. Yes. So I can proceed very well. Okay, okay, perfect, perfect. Done? Perfect, perfect. Good. Same answer. Now, power is given 0.5 per hour. Now, as I had mentioned, students, power will be required only here, not here. So 3600 into this is 1800. Now, what is given for wages? Operator's wages is, I'll just rub out too much of underlining is there. So what is given for operator's wages? It says 24 for 8 hours. Now see, you have to break this. So 24, which is per day of 8 hours. So I get rupees 3 per hour. Now what it says, he is attending one machine when it is under setup. It means his entire time is used on one machine for setup. And when the machine is under operation, he can attend two machines. Now this will be the deciding factor. So 3600 hours, which is the production time, into 3 rupees per hour, but upon two machines. And here 400 hours into rupees 3, because under setup he devotes full time, and when the machine is under maintenance he is devoting half of the time. Now this will give you your final total cost, and now you divide it by hours. Here you divide it by 3600 hours. Here you divide it by 400 hours. And now you will get your machine hour rate. Two rates, one for productive, one for setup. And both the rates are going to be different. This is what is a dual machine hour rate question. Tell me. Thank you, Beda Neeraj. Mustafa is saying same. What is same, Beda? Shamli, this is, give me details now, please, because otherwise students may not get the answer and there may be confusion. (24,728) Neeraj says, so I suppose Neeraj is saying for operative. And 31,48 Neeraj says for this. Okay, Neeraj. Jaya says for productive 6.86, setup 7.86. So it is 6.86 maybe something, and 7.86 maybe something. Okay, Krishna agrees. Prajot agrees. Meenu Kumari also agrees. Shamli. Okay, perfect. Perfect, students. So see, this is a dual machine hour rate. Now, whenever you are doing costing, how it will be used? I will charge the setup with the setup rate, whatever I have calculated. And I will charge the operating time with the operating rate, 6.86. So as you can see, now we will be charging every job by two separate rates. For setup, separate rate; for operation, that is production, separate rate. And that is where this type of calculation is required, is the differentiating factor. This is what, students, dual machine hour rate. I hope this is clear to everybody. Students, is the dual machine hour rate clear to everyone? Please solve. नीरज बेटा, वेजेस वाला पॉइंट क्या है? 24 रुपीज आप पर डे पे कर रहे हो, एक दिन 8 घंटे का है, ये दिया है सम में। सो 24/8 आपको कितना मिला? ₹3। सो ₹3 इज योर पर आवर वेजेस। यहां तक क्लियर है? अब आपको क्या दिया है? वर्कर जब सेटअप करता है तो वो एक ही मशीन का सेटअप एक बार में करता है, यानी ₹3 इज रिक्वायर्ड फुल्ली फॉर सेटअप। बट जब मशीन ऑपरेशन में है तो उसको क्या करना है? दोनों मशीन चल रही है, उसको एक साथ दो मशीन को वो हैंडल कर सकता है, यानी उसका टाइम दो मशीन पे यूज हो रहा है। सो हिज 1 hour wages is for 2 machines. So when I'm charging the wages to setup, क्योंकि वो एक बार में एक ही मशीन का सेटअप कर सकता है, तो मैंने पूरे ₹3 चार्ज किए। और जब वो प्रोडक्शन कर रहा है, तब क्योंकि वो एक साथ दो मशीन को हैंडल कर सकता है, तो उसके ₹3 को मैंने डिवाइडेड बाय 2 किया। I hope you understand this. This is the difference, beta. Neeraj, is this clear now? Good. Perfect. So students, with this we come to the last part. And the last part of this chapter is under over absorption of production overheads. Now, here we come to the accounting part. So I take you back to the first part of this, whatever we have studied, revised, discussed. So in my overheads register, I do breakup of all my expenses into what is related to production, administration, selling, production, administration, selling. So at the end, I get total of all these overheads. Now, as I said, these totals are then used for charging, but at the same time, these totals are also used for accounting. How? This production overheads total, which I have got, I'll just come down. I have production overheads control account. This you will study in detail. When you study the cost accounting part. So here on the debit side, I have the total coming from my overheads register. Now debit side is what? It is generally it is coming like this to bank. Later on you'll read another thing which is CLC. Don't ask me what is CLC now, that you'll study in detail when it is the cost accounting chapter. For the time being, if CLC you don't want to consider, you can say to bank. Now here, whatever amount is coming, it is the amount of actual overheads incurred. Even in accounts, this is happening. We debit every expense account by the amount of overheads which you are actually paying. Now, interesting, what is the credit side of this? So, when you will study cost accounting, you'll realize that when we are doing accounting, we don't open product accounts. But when we are doing cost accounting, we open product accounts, and product accounts are opened in 3 stages. Now, something of cost accounting I'm just covering here so that you'll understand what we are going to study. Baki, I'll give you the formula and format. It will be easy, but if you understand the logic and the flow, it will be even better. So in accounts, you don't open the product accounts, but in cost accounting, we do open the product accounts. So product accounts are in 3 stages. While it is under production, so it is called as WIP. Once the production is complete, it is called as finished goods. What is CONT? CONT, it is the control. Why it is called as control, that you study in cost accounting. For the time being, you may ignore. And when this finished goods are sold, it is the COS account, cost of sales account. Now, this debit side of my production overheads represents the actual production overheads which I have incurred, paid. Now, what is the credit side? We just calculated the charging rate, right? Now, let us say my charging rate is calculated per machine hour. So what I'm doing with using this charging rate, I'm charging the overheads to different jobs, different products, as you could see here. I've charged the overheads to different jobs, different product. How? Machine hours multiplied by the charging rate. Machine hours multiplied by the charging rate. So this total which I'm getting from my cost sheet is the amount of overheads which I have charged. Now in cost account, what happens? Whatever overheads I'm charging, I will transfer it from here to WIP control account. How have I got this figure? The figure is machine hours multiplied by the charging rate. So this figure from here, it comes to here. So here I have this amount debited to production overheads control account, right? So this same amount is debited here and it is credited here. Now this is the overheads absorbed or charged. So this was the actual which was incurred, that is paid. This is the amount which I have charged using the charging rate which I calculate. Now, interestingly, if you observe, the debit side represents actual, the credit is absorbed or charged on estimated basis. Now you will definitely understand and accept this point that if this entries are being passed, and these are passed every day, every month. So as you keep on incurring, you debit, and as you keep on charging to products, you credit. This will never match because one side you have put actual, the other side you have put the charged amount, which is calculated using the overhead rate, which is the estimated rate. So either this would be heavy, like here the total amount during the year is 4 lakhs, and here the total amount during the year is 425. So your credit side is heavier. So it means there is a shortfall on the debit side. What does this shortfall represents? It represents the amount of overheads which are over absorbed. Why over? Because your absorbed amount is greater than the charged amount, than the incurred amount. So if absorbed amount or charged amount is greater, it means you have overcharged, over absorbed. Correct? So this 25,000 will be my over absorbed. Now all this you will find out at the end of the period. So during the period, you have passed all the entries on the debit side totaling 4 lakhs, on the credit side totaling 425. Correct? The difference represents the amount which is overcharged, over absorbed, which is coming to 25,000. Now, otherwise also is possible. Let us say here the total absorbed amount was coming as 350 only possible. So in some period it may be over absorbed. In some period this would be overheads under absorbed. The difference is coming on the credit side. Now all this is what is the last part that we are going to study, which is called as the treatment. So now what we are going to study is treatment of under over absorbed overheads. Now, what does this point says? Theoretically, it says that whenever you get a difference, which is called as either under absorbed or over absorbed overheads, right? You have to find out the reason. If the reason for this is normal causes, like general increase in prices. This is the normal cause. Normal means which was expected to happen. Or the reason could be some abnormal cause. Abnormal cause could be defective planning or execution. So this is your mistake. This should not have happened. You should have planned, estimated it correctly. You should have executed your plans correctly, but you failed in that, because of which you are having this difference. So if it is normal, they say charge to product accounts. If it is abnormal, they will say charge to cost P&L account. Now, interestingly, these are your product accounts. And after the product accounts, in cost accounting, you prepare your cost P&L account as well. Now, what are they saying? Let us say in this example, I am getting under absorbed 50,000. They say bifurcate this into normal, abnormal. They will give you the ratio again here. Let us say the normal is coming as 20, abnormal is coming as 30. What is the treatment? Abnormal has to be transferred to cost P&L only, and normal has to be charged to your product accounts. Now, since there are 3 product accounts, you have to charge it to all 3. That is, you have to again divide it between WIP, FG, COS. Again, same thing in this question. Again, we are going to have ratios. So if you see this entire chapter right from start, primary distribution till the last point under over absorption is using one simple maths, that is proportion and ratio. So COS beta Jaya, it is cost of sales. So these are the terminologies like in cost sheet. When the product is under production, we call it as the work in progress. When it is completed, we call it as finished. And once it is sold, the total of that is called as cost of sales. So whatever goods are sold, the total of that is cost of sales. Yes, beta. Correct. Now what we are going to do in this last part is, now this will happen at the end. So at the start of the year, you did estimation, you found out ORR. During the year, you did accounting, you calculated actual, and also you started charging to your jobs, to your products in the cost sheet. At the end, you do the totals of your overheads account, and definitely there will be this difference, either over absorption or under absorption. And once there is this difference, what you have to do is this. So now the sums we are going to deal with as the last part is called as sums on treatment of under, over, absorbed overheads. And which overheads we are talking about? Production overheads. So this is the last part. Just do one thing, take a screenshot of this. So just you'll know the theoretical part, the conceptual part. So just take a screenshot of this. Done? Okay. Now, how to solve these sums? Again, the format is simple. The format is you first calculate this under or over absorbed overheads amount. How will you calculate? Now, I showed you in the form of that ledger account, but here you don't prepare the ledger. So you do it by the simple formula, production overheads absorbed or charged, whatever you may call it. How it will be? It will be the R's multiplied by the ORR. This is how you charge, minus production overheads incurred. So both these figures are given. You get the difference, which if this amount is greater, you will call it as over absorbed. If this amount is greater, you will call it as under absorbed. Then comes the second part, treatment. Now, what is the treatment? Simple, you break it up into how much of this is because of abnormal and how much of this is because of normal. And then you will do the treatment or you will do the solving. So this is broadly your format. Now let us solve sums using this format. So this is the calculation part. Chalo. Treatment of under or absorbed, right? Let us take up question 23. Let us read what it says. The overhead absorbed were 625. So they are giving this figure as 625 minus, whereas the overheads incurred were 750. So the difference you are getting as 75, and you will call it as under absorbed. I'm sure you understand why under absorbed, because your incurred is less and your absorbed is, sorry, it is vice versa. Absorbed is less and incurred is more. So this difference is your under absorption. Now what it further says, the balances of these accounts on last date is this. It is estimated that 40% of the difference is due to abnormal reasons. So they have given this as 40%, this as 60%. Now, 75 is the total difference. Out of this 75, 40%, that is 30,000 is abnormal, 45,000 is normal. What is the treatment? Treatment is charge to cost P and L account. What is the treatment? Charge to product accounts. How? As under, because you have three product accounts, so you have to divide it between the three. So product accounts, ratio, and the amount. What are the product accounts? One is the WIP account. The second is the finished goods account, and then cost of sales account. Now for ratios, there are two types of questions. In 23, 24, you'll get both the questions. In 23, they have given you the balances. So the balance given, like here, the balance is given as 225. Again, the balance in finished goods is given as 250. So first option for ratio is they will give you the balances of these accounts and cost of sales is 45 lakhs. So whatever is the balance, that is your ratio. So my ratio is 225, 250 and 4500. I have to divide this 45,000 in this ratio. Once I divide, I'll get the breakup of this 45,000. That is the amount of under absorption, which I will charge to different product accounts. Chalo, give me the breakup using the ratio. Sorry, Shamli is saying, so it is not. Oh, Shamli, thank you. Students, sorry, one small correction. This is 125. So these amounts will change. 40% is 50,000 and this is 75,000. Yes. Thank you, Shamli. Now, students, divide this 75,000 in the ratio and tell me the figures. Yes, Jaya. Yes, Meda. Yes, Krishna. Correct. So, 625 minus 750 is 125, which is under absorbed. And this 125 breakup, 40% is abnormal, which comes to 50,000. What is the treatment? Charge it to P&L because it is abnormal. Balance 60%, which is coming as 75,000. Charge it to products. How? In this ratio, 225, 250, 4,500. Sure. Give me the breakup, students. Students, again, I have multiple answers. Students, there cannot be multiple answers. It means again, you all are not using your calculators properly. How can there be multiple answers for the same? Students, the ratio, please understand, is 225 is to 250 is to 4500. Maybe you all have taken 450. But please, I repeat, be specific with the calculations. Don't mess up simple things. Don't complicate, which is fully scoring by simply doing some silly calculation errors. You are missing out on the opportunity to get full marks. And there is no concept, there is no technical involved in this. It is simple calculator maths. If you do these errors, difficult. It is only because of your haste or not reading the figures properly, not looking at the figures properly. This is happening, students. Good. What is TYQ, Rinky? I am not so well versed with your short forms. Right? Now, interestingly, the question also asks for journal entry. Now, students, journal entry you'll understand when you look at this. That is why I gave you the cost accounting part also. Now, what happens whenever there is under absorption? Means what? Incurred is more and charge is less. It means, the difference is coming on the credit side of production overheads account. So, in order to balance this account, that is, do this treatment, what is the effect? Whatever bifurcation we have done, these entries would be posted on the credit side of the production overheads account, and it would be posted on the debit side of these respective four accounts. So just keep this pictorial point in mind that whenever there is under absorption, the difference or the shortfall is on the credit side of production overheads account. So production overheads has to be credited and the respective accounts has to be debited. This is the simple trick of understanding and remembering the journal entries. So now what will be my journal entry for this? So journal entry would be all these accounts are debited. What are these accounts? Cost P&L. This is for the abnormal portion. Then WIP, then FG, then COS for the normal portion to production overheads control account. 50,000. So 50,000. And then respective figures which we just posted 33923769. And 67839. And the total of this is 125. So this is the journal entry, students. Now, what is the impact on the profits? Now, please understand, students, again, the answer is, if your answer has come that this is under absorption, it means you have charged less. Then one thing is for sure, profit shall be reduced. Now, the question is by what amount? By two amounts. One, what have you transferred to P&L because that is reducing your profit, plus two, what is transferred to COS. So your profit is reduced by total of this 50,000 plus 67839. So in this answer, profit is reducing by this. Had this been the case of over absorption, my only difference was, so the increases if it is under absorption, profit. So there are four things that, but first find out the under or absorption is normal, abnormal breakup, and then for profits. Correct, students? Pay attention to the voice. I hope now it is clear. So first working is the difference of under or absorption by this formula. Then the treatment, abnormal charge to P&L, normal charge to product, bifurcating like this. Then journal entry wherever asked, and reduction or increase of profit wherever asked. So the answer for treatment of under or absorption will be within these four corners only. It will not go outside this. Yes, Harsh, I'll show the screenshot. You all can take, I'll show the full answer. Take the screenshot. 1 second. Yes, students. So this is the answer. You can take the screenshot now. Take it now. यस रिंकी बेटा, मैंने क्लास के स्टार्टिंग में भी कहा था, पिछले लेक्चर में भी कहा था कि इसके जो सॉल्यूशंस हैंड रिटन मेरे पास है वो आपको आज अपलोड हो जाएंगे. सो विल गेट द आंसर्स. ठीक है ना? यस मीनू, सी प्रॉफिट रिड्यूस because whenever it is under absorption, the effect is, you can see profit and loss accounts, cost P&L account में आपने डिफरेंस को क्या किया, डेबिट किया ना. Now this itself is the answer. If the profit and loss account is debited, it means profit will reduce. So whenever there is under absorption, your profit will reduce, and whenever it is over absorption, profit will increase, and it will always be by these two amounts. So answer में ये जो दो अमाउंट्स आपने निकाले हैं, one is the amount transferred to P&L, one is the amount transferred to COS. ये दोनों अमाउंट की टोटल आप करोगे, that is the impact on profit. In that, if the question's answer is that there is under absorption, you will say profit will reduce. Where your answer is there is over absorption, you will say profit will increase. Right, students? Clear? Understood by all? Chalo, take up one more sum to understand. Go to next sum, students, from your sheet. Medha beta, I got these amounts by taking this ratio. So I divided this normal amount, whatever is the normal portion in this ratio. So if you divide 75,000 in this ratio, understood na? Yes, Medha, I know, but can't help. People are using too much of Wi-Fi right now. Chalo, next sum. A company has estimated its overhead absorption rate at ₹6 per machine hour. So this is the ORR they calculated. Now what we have to do is we have to again do this same process. During the year, overheads incurred is 395 and hours worked is 70,000 machine hours. So you follow the same format. So we calculate under over absorption how overheads charged minus overheads incurred, how charge will be calculated, machine hours multiplied by ORR. Yes, Ishwarya, I'll tell you. Let me just solve this. Now, how many hours are worked? 70,000. Rate is 6. So 70,000 into 6 is overheads charged. And 395 is overheads incurred. Now, 7 6 are 42. So I have charged 420. I have incurred 395. So 25,000 is my, what is given? 50% of the difference is due to abnormal. So 50% comes 12,500. 50% comes 12,500. This charge to cost P&L, this What are the product accounts? Product accounts are WIP, FG, COS. Now students, here, what is the ratio? WIP closing balance is given as units. Now see, as I was saying, there are two types of sums. One, they will give you rupees. If they are giving you rupees, you will directly take the values, that is the balances given of all these accounts in rupees. But whenever they give you in units, you will have to make small calculations. So 8,000 units are given for WIP. But out of this, they are further saying 60% is complete. So you'll multiply the 8,000 by 60%. Now, this concept you understand in the topic of process costing. So when you study process costing, you'll understand this topic. So WIP 8,000 units multiplied by 60%. This you should do. This is what is the important point, right? Then there is finished goods closing stock. How much it is? Finished goods closing stock is 10,000 units. That you will take as it is. And units sold, that also will take as it is. So only one small point you have to keep in mind: whenever units are given, WIP units has to be converted into equivalent finished units. So which comes to 4,800. So now your ratio is 4,800, 10,000 and 35,200. You have to divide this 12,500 in this ratio so that you get these amounts. Correct? Riddhi says, sir, it's 24. What is 24, beta? Okay, question number. Fine. Okay, Jaya has given me the bifurcation: 1,200, 2,500, 8,800. So it is 12, 25. Correct. Now again, journal entry and impact on profit. Now see students, journal entry. I gave you the trick. What is the trick? When it is over absorption, now visualize the PO account, production overheads account. When it is over absorption, credit side is heavier. So it means now on the debit side of production overheads, we have to pass this entry. So I have production overheads control account, and then all other accounts, cost P&L, WIP, FG, COS, they are to be credited. So in over absorption, this is the treatment. Right? What is the impact on profit in case of over absorption? Profit. So this is my impact on profit. Profit shall increase by rupees. Now, what are the figures? P&L, TOS. 12,500 plus 8,800. So the answer is 21,300. Yes, Riddhi, good. Beta, they have given 50%, na Kuldeep? They have given, so I have taken 50% normal, 50% abnormal. That is given in the question, beta. Yes, Meenu Kumari. Yes, Pooja, correct. Neeraj, correct. Now, I had a very important question asked by someone. Okay, sir, why you find impact on profit by adding these two figures? Which two figures? Cost P&L and COS. I'll tell you why. Because see, these two things are your stock. WIP stock, finished goods stock. So whatever under or over absorption you are transferring to these two accounts will get add up in the whenever these stocks would be sold, you will be able to realize this difference. So that is not your profit or loss today. Why? Because this can be realized in future. But this which is transferred to P&L is anyways transferred to P&L, so it is directly hitting your profit. And whatever is transferred to COS, what is COS, students? I told you, COS represents the goods which are already sold. Now, if these goods are already sold, whatever you are transferring to this account can now not be recovered. You cannot recover it back from your customers because now it is gone. Now, the point is that since it is gone, you cannot recover it. So that also becomes your own profit or loss. That is why whenever impact on profit is asked, you have to add up both these amounts. Chaitra is asking, sir, how can we get the amount column? Beta, please divide this amount, that is the normal loss portion, in this ratio. When you divide it in this ratio, you will get this amount, beta. Ishwarya, you got now? Very good, beta. Very good question, Ishwarya. So students, this is all about overheads chapter. We completed all major aspects of this. Plus, we completed majority theory of this. Today, I'll be uploading the answer sheets for this. Slightly, maybe there could be difference in presentation because it was answer sheet of one of the past batch students who had shared with me, and I found majority of her solving perfect. So I'll upload that. Maybe your presentation and her presentation may not match, but that is okay. A presentation will be different of different students. What is very important is conceptually and final answer. If you are getting the same, means what you are doing is correct. Right, students? So I again repeat, please, please, please solve from your past exam questions. We have everything hosted on our BOS portal. So please visit our portal, download all these materials for practice. First, solve your entire module, both the sums at the in the chapter and plus at the end. Then go to past exam questions, MTPs and RTPs. But please practice. This is the best subject to score entire subject scoring. Yes. Ishwarya, but I don't have of materials. I have for labor. I'll share for labor. Material, if you solve and send it, I will definitely check. And if everything is correct, I'll upload. So for material till now, students have not given me solved. So I do not have the solved. If you solve and give it to me, just you may solve everything once again, those in the class plus the remaining one, I'll upload it. Ishwarya, maybe you can send it to BOS. They will send it to me. I will check it and I will upload it, Vida. So if you have any portal where you can send it to them, please do send it. Right? I will check it and I will upload the material part. Labor and overheads I have, so I'll upload it today. Fine, students. Excellent. So it was great again, once again, interacting with you all. You all have a good understanding sense. I should appreciate that. And you all are really taking good efforts. Just remember what I mentioned at the start. Smart work requires hard work as well. So please, please solve, do thorough practice so that you come out with flying colors. Thank you all. Bye-bye. Take care. Yes, Manishi, over. Thank you very much. Same, Manishi. Bye.